And welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. As you guys can see, it's just me and Zoo here, getting ready to watch the draft tonight. But I felt like we got to get in here and get some notes and some comments and some reactions on the massive amount of trades that have happened since we've last been on. And first off, I wanted to start off saying, Zoo, how you doing, man?
No, it's been a long day for the NBA, man. The NBA might not be playing, but it is playing in the off season right now, man. It has been exciting, and this is like all before the draft. Usually, it's like draft night. Usually, some trades, like obviously with picks and stuff, because where people are going. But we're getting pre-draft trades right now, and they're coming fast. It was like Twitter going crazy right now, man. It's incredible. NBA offseason is incredible. One of the best things ever.
I think I just lost my camera. Can you still hear me, Zoo?
Oh, I got you, man. I got you.
Word. Well, listen, I wanted to go through all the trades chronologically. So let's go ahead and start with the, some would say the biggest trade, and that is Bradley Beal going to the Suns. And Zoo, man, give us your breakdown of that.
Yeah, my first reaction is, for what? Bradley Beal? I'm like, first of all, there's a reason why the Washington Wizards general manager was fired. The dude that gave Bradley Beal a no trade clause.
Thank you.
He is the only player in the NBA currently with a no trade clause. Not even LeBron James, Steph Curry, like Kevin Durant got a no trade clause, and Bradley Beal got a no trade clause. This dude never made it to the conference finals. Like, this dude was the second best player on that team. So I'm just saying, like, Bradley Beal didn't really do much for the Washington. Like, he was loyal, whatever. No. He was loyal for the bag, man. He got his Supermax, and then obviously they're going to be like, okay, this dude ain't going to get it done. We can't even make the playoffs with this dude in Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma. We're going to rebuild. And they're rebuilding the year after the Wembanyama draft? Like okay, they should have done this a year earlier. It would have made so much sense to get a high pick. People say this is an extremely strong draft with the high picks, like outside of Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, man, like Miller, like you got all these the Thompson twins, so you got all these potential assets that might be future perennial all-stars in the future. And next year, people are talking about is a significantly weaker draft. I don't even think there's like a consensus number one pick. Like this dude's automatically going to go number one. So you are going full rebuild. And you're having a hard time getting a first round pick. Like they didn't even get a first round pick in the Bradley Beal trade. They indirectly through the CP3 trade because they got CP3, bunch of second rounders, and a bunch of first round pick swaps. So pretty much they didn't get a single first round pick directly from the Phoenix Suns for Bradley Beal, who they give the brother $250, and then that dude pretty much said, I want to play with KD. I want to play with Devin Booker, man. So they couldn't trade him for the best trade available because Bradley Beal had to say, So pretty much Bradley Beal had a gun to the Washington Wizards' head, man. That's pretty much what happened, and he got his way.
The rights.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I remember I saw the rumors like Phoenix Suns in the. I'm like, Phoenix Suns in the conversation? They only get in the conversation if Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. And the crazy part of the Suns trade is there's a guy in ownership over there, management over the Washington Wizards related to the Phoenix Suns.
I read that, and that was I didn't like
so
that.
Do you know what that's called? That is called a conflict of interest, man. It's in the business world a lot.
And probably tampering.
I just see that. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like, that trade was atrocious. The timing of the trade was atrocious. Like, the Washington Wizards, I feel bad as a Bulls fan, but I feel bad for Washington Wizards fan right now because they're doing a full-on rebuild right now, getting rid of all their assets right now, and they did not get much back. Like, they got pick swaps, second-round picks for Bradley Beal. That's what happened. Because no significant players. Obviously, CP3, we'll talk about that later. He got flipped. But based on draft capital, what they get? Second-round picks and pick swaps?
They literally got 2024, 2025, basically 2024 through 2028 of second-round picks from the Suns, 2030 as picks they can have. And then they have the swaps with first rounds. But, I mean, this is what I think is hilarious about this. The fact that to your point, Bradley Beal getting the no trade. That is whoever his agent is, like that's a nice trump card to have. And I'm pretty sure after seeing this trade, that's probably not going to happen for a very long time. A player getting a no trade, no, maybe Victor gets it, who knows?
Mm.
But I think what's hilarious about this is, a lot of the situation when that trade went down, we kind of knew that Bradley Beal was going to be like forcing his way and making sure like these are the places I wanted to go. But the fact that we talk about this, like, and we kind of laughed at it with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the whole new owner syndrome. I know we laughed at the Rudy Gobert thing, but and I still would rank that trade as being a little worse just because I don't think Rudy Gobert and Bradley Beal, like I'd rather have Bradley Beal. Yeah. But I feel like this is two signs for whoever the new owner and I don't know. I mean, I guess you can look at the Hornets as they're getting new ownership and things like that, like as a telltale sign. And the season has to be played and we're going to see down the road, but you need to resist the urge to try to always get the headline. And I felt like this trade, I know people want to talk about, well, what they gave up. We know, like, we're not arguing, like, oh, the assets, like, they didn't give up anything. We get it. But my thing is the Bradley Beal as a player and its fit, which we're going to talk about, like, to me, it does not seem like the owner was like, because I don't get the sense that KD and Book was like, you better get Bradley Beal or or trade us. I don't think that was the overall theme of what was going on. I just think the owner was like, oh, well, we can just looking at it on the surface. There's second round picks, who cares? You can buy second round picks. You have cash, whatever. Let's just get Bradley Beal. Not trying to understand and think like, is this the best fit for the team? Because some would argue, oh, well, you still have Ayton, and you might be able to flip Ayton and get some other spare parts. But for me, I still would have rather, and this is just me, I guess, being on the conservative side, been like, hey, let's figure out maybe what we can get for Ayton first. And then, because I don't think if I think if Bradley Beal has that clause, and this is where he truly wanted to go, then he could have just waited. Like, I don't know what the rush was to get Bradley Beal. And then now you're showing your hand with Ayton because everybody knows now you have to flip Ayton. So if you think you're going to get a great return for him, good luck. Like, I don't know what, because people keep saying just trade Ayton and get a bunch of wing defenders. Good. What? Like, who in their right mind is going to give them great wing defenders, like guys who just play defense, for Ayton? Now that everybody knows that's your last move, like, you kind of showed your hand a little bit.
And he's getting paid a max contract.
Yeah.
So he's getting paid a lot with the new CBA rules. Having 3 max dudes is very restricting of the roster. Like, I feel like the ideal is having like 2 max guys and the rest make
that's what the NBA
money.
wanted. Yeah.
So pretty much they want to balance out the stars. So DeAndre Ayton a year ago was worth a lot more. So obviously I think the move is DeAndre Ayton for some role players, but I don't know if they could pull that off. And right now it's going to be the big 3 that they have. I consider them a true big 3. Like, these are all-star caliber players. And DeAndre Ayton and a bunch of minimum guys. And that's the team they're going for. And it's a weird fit. Like, Beal and Booker, they're both scorers.
Position redundancy.
So they all like mentality-wise, get buckets. They don't have a playmaker, even though Devin Booker showed some playmaking skills this year in the playoffs when CP3 was injured. And he's going to have to be more point Booker than buckets Booker.
What do you mean? They got Cam Payne, man. Starting point guard Cameron Payne, which is going to be insane if he really does stick on the roster.
Dude, Cam Payne will be welcome back on the veteran minimum, man. Welcome to the squad, man. Welcome to the squad.
It's the backup. I still wouldn't want him starting, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. D-Book has been running point, and Bradley Beal will be starting at the 2. But that's what they're going to rock, man. I'm excited to see how they work out. Like, new owner syndrome, man, is definitely a thing with these big moves. But I'm like, at least this move, they got a player in Bradley Beal that could get some buckets. Unlike that dude, Rudy Gobert, dropping 12 points a game on offense. So, like, Phoenix Suns, man, we see you, man. People are loading up. People are loading up trying to win it all because you got KD, who's very injury prone. So they're going all in. CP3, obviously, very injury prone. So they got a younger guy, even though on the back end of that Beal contract is going to be nasty, $57 million. And
a lot of those,
dude also, like, on the Wizards, been missing a lot of games. A lot of it, maybe a little tanking, but I don't know. Like he's been missing a lot of games too, even though he's a relatively younger guy. So maybe he'll recover a lot healthier in that Phoenix Suns weather. Like maybe.
I'm not sure. Does Bradley Beal have a player option at the end of his? He probably does. I feel like a lot of those Max guys get player options at the end of their deals. But my point is, if you start looking at a lot of those guys that got maxes, like I was just cycling through, like I saw Levine and then I saw Dame, like a lot of the end of those max contracts, like those player options that most of them have is the money is pretty nasty. And it's like, Beal, I feel like in Washington, it's like, why would you do that? Now with Phoenix, if it, hypothetically works out, then that's just like a given. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's interesting. Like I said, the Phoenix Suns, new owner syndrome or not, they're trying to load up, transitioning to another ownership group that's probably been there for a while, but who always seems to make shrewd trades. The Boston Celtics, man, like, their ability to pull off not only KP, but the 2 first rounders they were able to get.
Marcus Smart.
That right there is a feather in Brad Stevens' cap or, hat, whatever you want to call it. Because when I first saw the trade, like, going back a little bit, when I first saw the trade where it's like Brogdon was going to LA, KP was going to Boston, and I can't remember, I think it was Memphis, somebody else was going to Memphis or whatever. I was thinking to myself, like, maybe all these trades, like, it makes sense for each team. But then, like, when this second trade happened and we just got the first framework, I was like, I mean, I like it for all the teams, but it's like, fair. But then when more information started coming out, I was like, man, this may be a hot take, but I feel like if we're ranking in terms of who won the trade, like Boston obviously won it because they got KP and the 2 first rounders. But I really like what Washington got with Tyus because I'm in that hive where I like him as a starter. And we're going to talk about later as his running mate coming into the fold. But I like him as a starter. Gallinari got hurt last year, but I feel like if he return back to form, he can be a nice shooter. Muscala, we know he could shoot. But it's like you got 35th pick. But I like Tyus being part of, if you're, they're showing they're part of this rebuild, he's going to be a nice fit in Washington, like Denny Avdia, Cody Kispert. He's got guys he can get the ball to. I think he has the ability. Tyus Jones, not saying he can be an all-star guy, but I think he could be a really, really solid point guard for a team that's trying to rebuild. And that, makes Memphis the 3rd team. The only thing I see with that is like, okay, well, Marcus fits the identity of the city. But you mean to tell me you give up, and some people are up and down with picks, like they say, F the picks, whatever. But I feel like getting rid of Tyus, like Marcus, he's your starting point guard for the first 25 games. I don't love it. I don't love that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I look at that trade because Memphis Grizzlies, this is an organization that historically really, really good at drafting. Like draft day is their day. They get Desmond Baines and Tyus Jones and John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.'s. So to them, they value their picks. So that there's when Detroit Pistons trade a pick, they suck. They're gonna miss anyways. So they ain't worth as much. But Memphis Grizzlies, when they load up and make a trade, this is a big deal. And I look at the return, Marcus Smart. Yeah, I'm just like I love Tyus Jones as a backup point guard. Right? He fit them. He's a true point guard mentality. Like he reminds me a lot of Mike Conley, another former Grizzly, man. He just even keeled, plays with high IQ, can shoot the basketball. Not the best athlete and not the biggest guy, but he's all his point guard skills, all mental. He got the IQ, and I think he has an intangible being a leader on the court. That is some guy that would have been nice on the Boston Celtics. I thought they could maybe get a Tyus Jones, get him in there, orchestrate the offense with these dynamic wings out there.
Would you rather have him than KP?
I don't know. I think the fit, because if you look at the Boston Celtics' biggest issue, I've been saying this for years, is the playmaker, the point guard position. Because Tatum and Jaylen Brown are not playmakers, and they will not develop in that because playmaking is one of those intangibles. I don't think you get that much better at it. It's if you have it or you don't. And they're bucket getters, and that's all right. But they didn't get the playmaker. But Porzingis, low-key last year, he had him a hell of a year. Nobody knows because nobody watching the Washington Wizards. Nobody watches Washington. I don't even think people in Washington is watching those Wizards, probably man. Because they couldn't even make the play-in tournament, man. And you got a guy in Porzingis who's putting up 23 a game, had one of his best years on defense as a rim protector. The dude got 23 and 8 and almost 2 blocks a game. And obviously he had to opt in his deal. So this is like obviously KP has injury risk. Historically, the dude's always been injured. Last year is one of the more healthy years, played 60 plus games. They're getting a guy that adds a new dynamic on offense for Boston to play 2-man game with JT and Jaylen Brown, pick and pop game with Porzingis. Because like you're going from I respect Al Horford, but you're going from Al Horford to Porzingis. Like Porzingis on offense is an elite offensive player. Like, they do 7-3 and shoots threes effortlessly. So if you look at that offense, man, like Missoula, that dude's all about offense. So they got him another offensive weapon with this Boston Celtics because Marcus Smart, former defensive player of the year. You go from a defensive guy, bringing an offensive guy in the mold and try to become a better offensive team. And they're going to definitely jack up more threes with them. So I understand the trade. They wanted to shake things up because year after year after year, I didn't think they were going to flip Jaylen Brown. So they're trying to rework the team on offense to be more elite. But it still doesn't solve the biggest issue, which is playmaking. So maybe they have another move up their sleeves. Like they gave up Marcus Smart. Like they still have other assets that might be able to trade. I don't know. They love Derek White. Maybe trade Derek White.
That's what I think they're banking on. I think and
Brogdon,
I don't know.
He's sort of untradeable with this injury thing. He's sort of untradeable.
And they knew that, and I feel like they knew that because when they made that trade, I remember, because they didn't give up anything, but when they made that trade, I remember they were just a lot of people online were tweeting like they are fully aware that this could, bite them in the backside because they just knew his history. That's why they were able to give up pretty much nothing. A bunch of end of the bench guys from Malcolm Brogdon. So I do think Derek White is a guy that they're looking at and being like, okay, maybe he can take a step in playmaking, but I don't know if he's even that guy because to me, when I was watching the playoffs, Derek White seemed like the perfect complementary piece to like spot up shooting and drives to the basket. Nothing to me with Derek White was like, oh, and maybe he has it in his game. I don't know, but nothing to me screamed with Derek White like, oh yeah, he's a guy that's going to set up plays for Tatum and Brown. And to me, I do think that even though it may sound blasphemous, Tyus Jones would have been a great fit with Boston. Now, I don't know what the trade package would have ended up being, but I do know that KP at least gives some spacing on the floor. And, it's a nice alternative to Robert Williams and Al Horford because we kind of know they're Al Horford can shoot three, but and Al Horford, I guess maybe he'll still be on the team because I don't know if he's a liability, but his minutes will be decreased now with KP being there. And it's also very telling, like Missoula wants his identity to be offense because you trade away Marcus Smart and you bring in KP. That's kind of a sign right there. So I do think that the Boston Celtics, where it could get a little hairy, is if they don't resign Grant, which they're probably not.
No money left.
Who else on the wing could be like a backup? Like, options just to spell JT and Jaylen. Just toughness is what I'm looking at. Like, during the Miami series, don't want to go all the way back and belabor that, but I felt like the toughest player on the team was Derek White, and he's still on the team. But there's a lot to be said about Marcus Smart, who wasn't my favorite player, but he did have a lot of cojones, and he definitely was a guy who was going to mix it up and at least show that he was Boston strong and all the type of stuff and phrases you say about a team that's tough, quote unquote. So. I do know that now the last shot is probably going to go to Jason Tatum, and that's probably going to be by default because Marcus Smart loved to take big shots. So, overall, I still think Boston won the trade, but it's more so because of the 2 first-round picks. Because if I think they don't get those picks, which I know I think the second pick is like lottery protected, but I think if they don't get any of those picks, I might lean towards Washington because of Tyus's new running mate, which pretty much just broke like maybe an hour or two ago with Jordan Poole going to the Washington Wizards for Chris Paul and future assets. So what are your thoughts on that one, man? This one right here to me is I don't understand it at all, but maybe you do.
Man, and it's crazy, man. I didn't get the notification from Woj, man. I got a notification from you. I was like, what? What? I was what was that? I'm like, what? I was like, I got a deep dive. I was working. I was like, what's going on? I was like, oh, what the?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was like, first of all, like, I'm not surprised Jordan Poole got traded because
me either.
I knew for a fact because if you saw the playoff like team atmosphere and the chemistry, a lot of
Yeah, it was
mad
off.
faces, like people like looking at Jordan Poole. I don't know if you saw that meme where Steph Curry just looking at Poole, just giving that dirty look. And that's the same look that LeBron gave to Kyrie, and he gone. And LeBron gave to D Wade, he gone. And now Steph Curry
Yeah,
doing the JP, he gone. So like
yeah.
that look, man, I'm telling you. And I still remember Steve Kerr talking about all this like selflessness of the championship team. And a lot of the young guys, my God, they want shots, they want minutes, and they want to get paid. Like that's just a natural course of things. Even though JP got paid, he didn't play that well this year. And obviously the tension with Draymond Green will always be there. The one thing I saw on social media, man, JP unfouled Mr. Draymond Green, man. Like they ain't buddies no more, man.
Yeah,
Like
there's
after
no
you get
repairing that.
yeah, there's no repair after you get punched in the face. Like it just there's nothing. There's nothing, man. Like the Warriors had to do this because I know for sure they're gonna try to re-sign Draymond Green.
Yeah,
And I think
now
re-signing
for
Draymond
sure.
got a lot easier now. Be like, yo, Dre, we shipped this dude out for you, man, and we shipped out a first-round pick. We had to put a pick with them to get a expiring and Chris Paul. They're getting a 38-year-old point guard. Like the fit, I'm just thinking CP3 is gonna be off the bench, right? I'm just thinking like guard wise, like the rotation wise, it's still gonna be Steph, Clay, Wiggs, like Dre, and like a Looney or someone else. Like I don't think they're gonna go super small ball, rocking Steph at the 2 and Clay at the 3.
If they put Steph and Chris at the 1 and 2, that is you could have the worst offensive player go for 40 if both of those guys are in the. And this is respect to Steph, but if you have Chris Paul and Steph in the backcourt as your 1 and 2, I don't care. Name the worst offensive guard he's going for 40. So no, I don't. I think Chris Paul is definitely coming off the bench.
Yeah, so CP3 off the bench for like the first time in his career, that's going to be different because like last year he wasn't like obviously prime CP3, but he's still 13, 14 points a game, give you 7, 8 assists a game. Like he's still a productive player, just obviously not a Hall of Fame level player. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, man, the Warriors chose a lane because I still remember years ago when they tried to get the young guys and the old dudes, and we're going to rebuild and we're going to contend at the same time. They obviously won a championship. I'm still surprised by that championship because I don't think that team was that good. Like I just objectively didn't think that was shout out to Steph.
There's more so Boston not doing what they were supposed to do.
Exactly. I thought Boston more talent, but Steph Curry was just the best player in the series. So right now they chose a lane. We got this all-timer in Steph Curry. We might not get a better NBA player in the history of this franchise. So
they won't.
So the title window is now. The minute Steph Curry retires, just glad you got him on your franchise, man. Just be glad and grateful and pay respects to this dude. Build a statue, give him whatever, and just be grateful. Because right now they're trying to win a championship. Because obviously first move they shipped out James Wiseman during the year. Now Jordan Poole. I think up next is potentially a Kuminga or a Moses Moody. Maybe not both, but definitely one of them. I'm leaning Kuminga right now because there's a lot of
Kuminga too.
Off-court distraction about him not getting play minutes, even though I look back at the series, I think Kuminga should have got some minutes, but Steve Kerr just did not play him. So Kuminga not getting minutes and him being a top 10 pick, he has expectations of playing. And obviously that situation right now, like with Steve Kerr, doesn't have the best relationship. So I feel like they're going to probably ship him out. They're going to ship out Kuminga and try to get some get some wing depth to assist Andrew Wiggins out there on the perimeter and play some defense and shoot some threes. So I think for sure they're definitely not done yet because this Warriors team right now, they're like, okay, Denver Nuggets is cream of the crop right now, but I'm telling you right now, the NBA is so wide open. So these guys in the playoffs that made runs and have aspirations of making future deep playoff runs, man, they're locked and loaded to make some deals happen, man. And I'm excited for it. Yeah. So I like this deal, even though the fit, it's a little funky. They had to do it to get out of JP, but giving up a first-round pick, man, I don't know if they could have got that deal without getting the first-round pick out of there, but, man, that was probably what pushed the trade over, getting the first-rounder.
I'm wondering, because I'm on the same wavelength in terms of Kuminga's probably going to be the next guy. I wonder if tonight, speaking of the draft, because I think they have 19 as their pick. I wonder if they trade, do a package of Kuminga and that pick or Moses Moody, but in that pick, which I would rather do Kuminga because I just like his upside more. And that pick to maybe trade up and get a guy that they're targeting in the draft is maybe a a player who fits their timeline, an older player maybe, or someone who just has a lot of, you know, scoring skill set or defensive skill set, like ready to go. Like basically, you could plug him in, he can be a sixth or seventh man. So that's something interesting. I think the Warriors may be doing because they have a lot of assets on their roster that they can trade. But to me, I just don't see the fit with Chris Paul just off the simple fact of their offense because they're not a high pick and roll offense. Like they
No,
did it with Steph a little bit in
in
the
the
playoffs when
playoffs
they were playing the
because they
Lakers, but
had
that was
to.
like desperation. Yeah.
That was
And
desperation.
it worked a little bit. And I know a lot of people when they had KD, bro, I remember a lot of people were asking when they were, even though they were winning so much, so people didn't really use it as a talking point. But it's like, why don't they do more of high pick and rolls with KD and Steph? But that's just not their offense. And last I checked, Steve Kerr is still the coach there, and that's still the offense they're probably going to run. So I don't know where Chris Paul fits in terms of how that offense is running, unless you're telling me once Steph comes off the floor, because I'm pretty sure that's who Chris Paul will be coming in for. They when he's running the second unit, he changes the offense completely. Which I mean, the only like positive I see is he makes Looney incredible because Chris Paul does do well with bigs.
Pick and
So it's
roll.
like
Yeah.
maybe he makes Looney into this type of player we've never seen before. But I don't like the fit, and I also don't like that Golden State had to send out like a first round pick with Jordan Poole.
That's a
Like
little sad.
I get it, Jordan, and there's been a lot of rhetoric, which I don't think he's in this category yet. And I may have said it on a pod earlier, but I don't believe it. Believe that if I did say it, I don't think Jordan Poole is in his stage of the career where he's a bad player on a winning team. I still think he has a little bit of value because maybe we forget, even though I don't think he had a great finals and the year they won, I don't think he did great in that finals. He was an integral part in the playoffs when he was playing and during the regular season. With Clay being hurt sometimes and Steph being hurt, like Poole was a serviceable player during those regular season games that kept the Warriors in the playoff hunt. So I do think in Washington, it does feel like he might end up being a great player on a bad team, but that'll be more so because they're just trying to tank, which to your point earlier, I don't know why they're trying to tank it next year. I just don't understand that at all. What, like maybe it's new ownership and they're just trying to clean slate, but I do think that this trade out of all of them, I don't like it at all for Golden State. And I could be completely wrong. I just do not understand the fit with Chris Paul. And we both have mentioned the fact that he's always hurt.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't even think if they are, let's just say they start the season and they're like 45 and whatever, and they're going crazy, and I won't be the one saying, yeah, I like them in the playoffs, because as soon as the playoffs come, there's probably a more than 50% chance that Chris will get hurt in the playoffs. And then it's like, it's going to wreck, at least I'm not saying it'll wreck it to where they may lose a series, but I do think it'll wreck the rhythm of the team. And I also think you could have got you can't tell me that you could have got more back for Jordan Poole. Like you couldn't ask Washington for like Corey Kispert. Like you couldn't ask him for like him, just like another shooter or something. Like that's all you get back. So it's like, was Jordan Poole's was it that bad? I don't think his value was that bad, because I think you could have traded Jordan Poole somewhere else and got better value.
The return back was like Chris Paul was a dude that was about to get waived if he wasn't traded. Like he would have getting waived and he would have been getting the veteran minimum to join a new roster. That would have been a bargain of life. Right now, CP3, he's pretty happy right now. He's getting his bag, going to a contender. His family's in California. Probably preferred LA over San Francisco, but you're still in Cali, man. Take your private jet or take a jet flight.
Yeah, short flight.
Easy flight down, so no worries there. But that relationship, because Steph Curry and CP3, they low-key had a mini rivalry.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, point guard versus point guard,
that
many
Houston
playoff battles. Oh, those Houston Warriors battles, man, they did not like each other, man. That was physicality at the max. And even like they had some battles in the past when he was on the Clippers too. So they had multiple playoff battles, and obviously you still remember that move that got CP3 leaning, man, and made him look just old and silly, man. Old and silly.
Something crazy. Yeah.
Exactly.
That was when he was with the Clippers. I've used that on the cup when I think I made a reel about Steph having an underrated handle, and Chris Paul was definitely on that reel. Shout out to Chris Paul, but I had to put you on there. But out of all the trades that we discussed, I just did not understand the conversation that Golden State got back. Now, like you say, if they do something tonight where Kuminga's involved in the trade and move up and get somebody else, it's like, okay, that's cool. But I still think Jordan Poole could have yielded something way more than Chris Paul. So I feel like, overall tonight's going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about the draft probably in later weeks about once everybody's drafted and free agents get signed, the summer league, get started up. We'll be talking about more of how everybody fits and all the different types of scenarios with the NBA season going up. But I am interested to see
Do you know
how
what the
tonight
most?
shakes
Do you
out.
know what the
Go
most
ahead.
impactful pick is? It's not Wembenyama. Like obviously we know that, but
Yeah,
do you
we
know
know that
which?
one.
Yeah, do you know which
It's the
pick?
second one.
No,
You don't think
it's
so?
the Portland trade. Obviously with the second one,
No, third,
obviously
yeah.
seeing what the Blazers do with that pick. Because if they draft the player and keep it and not trade it, Damian Lillard is going to demand a trade. Because he is straight up said, I don't want to play with more young guys. I want guys on my timeline. I want to win. And if they keep that pick, whoever it is, either Scoot Henderson or the guy from Alabama.
Miller, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, that trade is good because trading out of top three, that's a very rare situation. Like, rarely happens. I think the last time I remember was when Wiggins got flipped for Kevin Love for them trying to win it all when LeBron came back home. So legit, that pick right number 3. Oh, I'll be looking at Woj and Shams, man. I don't even need to work at the TV. I'm like, okay, give me something because I'm feeling something. Because if it doesn't happen, don't be surprised when I know Dame's guy is Chris Haynes. Chris Haynes be like Damian Lillard. And the Portland Trailblazers have mutually discussed trade discussions for him. Best for their future. They are going for a full rebuild. Mutual decision, man. Got to make both parties look good. Can't make Dame look
That's all that is.
Can't make Dame look like the guy that, he quit on loyalty, man. He just got the bag and left. And can't make the Blazers look like, we're trading him. No. It was a mutual decision. I swear to God that's going to happen.
That's happening, yes.
I swear to God.
This is what I am getting sick of with the whole Dame stuff, because all it's been, feel like for the last 3 or 4 years is it feels like Chris Haynes gets fed information and he's doing his job, but he gets fed information of, they'll throw a little teaser out there like Dame's kind of unhappy or Dame is whatever. And then it quickly, like very quickly, like less than 24 hours, it gets pulled back. Like Dame comes out and says a statement. He'll either go on IG Live or say a statement to one of these information websites and be like, yo, like, I love Portland. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. And then the Blazers will put out these these quotes to Bleacher Report and be like, hey, we're not taking any more calls for Dame. It's like all this posturing. It's just like, for one, I don't understand, for a guy who does not want to be traded. Like, if you just look at it from the base of he does not want to be traded, there sure is a lot of smoke around diffusing trades and like saying I don't want to be traded. Like, it sounds like you do want to be traded. You just don't want to be the bad guy. Go ahead.
Dude, legit, like, the dude says like this, he wants to stay in Portland. The guy goes on a lot of podcasts and talks about potential, because I see straight up interviews like, Brooklyn, that would be nice. Like, Mikal Bridges, that's
Shows
my
up in
boy.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, he shows up to Brooklyn to watch the game, and then a podcast a couple weeks later, he talks about, Mikal Bridges, that's my boy. I'd love to play with a guy like that. And then he's like, dream scenario. Gotta be Miami. Bam Adebayo, that's my boy. I'm like, dude, you're talking like all the smoke. It's not caused by rumors, man. It's caused directly from your mouth. It's like directly saying this to media, because ain't through indirect sources. A lot of the sources, the primary source, is you, brother, man. It's you on IG Live. It's you on the podcast talking about these things. And obviously, you knew these questions were coming, because when you go on a podcast, they'll give you a heads up on certain questions.
What they're going to ask. They're going to ask you about your time in Portland and how many, they're going to ask you about, do you want to stay in Portland, and the shot you hit on Paul George. That's it. Like, besides that, that is all they're asking. So he knows this very well. Like, and to me, I think it's a symptom of him just being a superstar and liking the attention. Like, all these guys who are major superstars, except for a few of them, like maybe Giannis or Jokic, like they love the attention. So, I do think if they, to your point, end up taking Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson, he's definitely going to be texting Chris Haynes. And I feel like it's to now seeing how everything's shaked out. Like, I could see Philly, Miami being in that running. Because you've seen a lot of smoke with Miami and Dame.
Miami has the most smoke.
I saw an interesting one. Now, I this was like, I don't know who. I wish I should have wrote down the name of the person, whatever. I saw it on Twitter, but like, I saw some like smoke with Orlando being one, because they have 6 and 11 and giving up maybe one of their young guards or both. And then I started thinking in my head, like, maybe like I wouldn't mind a Dame, Paolo, and or I think was it Wagner? What's his name?
Franz Wagner.
Franz Wagner. Like that three, and then whatever they got left, like I wouldn't mind that because for all the teams and scenarios that Dame could be at, I kind of like that pairing, but I don't think that Orlando is on that timeline. I think they're trying to just still build with the young guys since they hit on Paolo. But yeah, I do think Miami, Philly would be very interesting of places that Dame would probably want to go. So we're gonna see, man. I do think that if I'm the Blazers at this point, especially with Dame and all this going back and forth, because Dame is not a way older player, but he is getting older. And like I said, I think on his last year player option, he's at like 60. Like that's a crazy number. I think he's 62, 63 as a player option. That is a tough pill to swallow. And it's going to be hard to trade that contract or trade him as he gets older. So
yeah, if
you have a chance to draft Scoot,
get your point guard of the future, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, because dude, they can't have what Bradley Beal to the Wizards happen to them with the Blazers.
No,
they got to get value. And right now, like obviously they looking in the draft. They jumped up with the top 3 pick right now. If you get like a Scoot Henderson fall to you, man, you got a backcourt of the future. And with him and Anthony Simons,
yes,
my goodness, and Shaedon Sharpe, those are really young, athletic. Like the 2 others are great shooters. Like you could accelerate the rebuild and get probably a boatload of like first round draft picks and pick swaps and try to get as much
maybe a decent player coming back.
Exactly. But get as much juice out of these contending teams right now. Because if a contending team gets a Dame Dollar, Dame does not shrink in the playoffs. Like what Harden pulled on Philly, that doesn't happen with Dame Dollar. If he's gonna have a bad game, he's gonna go out shooting. Like it's not gonna be he just lost it. Like his mentality.
I think Dame. Now that you're saying that, because you just brought up Harden, I would want to see him with Philly just to see him and Embiid. I think like him playing with a player like Embiid, that would be like
shooter,
I know
man.
people want to talk about Miami, but yeah, just a knockdown shooter and like pick and roll. Even though Dame's not the greatest creator, but just like I think they would play really well off of each other. But we're gonna see, man. Like I said, the NBA draft tonight is gonna give us a lot of trades and it's going to give us a lot of drama. We will be back on soon to talk about, NBA draft, stuff with the NFL, things of that nature. Make sure you tune in to bullheaded_pod on Instagram to see all of our draft prep. Make sure you look to YouTube, Quantrill Knows. Have all kind of videos also on there doing shorts with, sometimes I'm on TikTok doing kind of the same content I do on IG, but make sure you follow that at bullheaded_864. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush out in Italy, it's Bullheaded Podcast. See you guys later.